Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. We'll call this meeting with Wisconsin County Commissioners Court to order. Everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Tim Cannon to give the invitation.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for just allowing us to be here today, allowing us, Lord, to worship you, Lord. Continue to pray, Lord, for all our family, all our community, our country, Lord, with this COVID. Pray that you be with the families that are going through this, and just lay your healing hand on them, Lord. Also, Lord, be with our military and our citizens that are in Afghanistan trying to get out, Lord. Please pray that you continue to be with them, help them get done what needs to be done. Be with us today as we take care of the county business. Make us make the right decisions in your name, Lord. Through your Son we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take the seat, please. We did have a presentation to make the judge use, but he's not able to be here this morning, so we will move that. And at this time, I will open for public comments. It is 10:01. I'd ask anyone that speaks, limit the comments to 5 minutes. There cannot be any discussion from the members of the Commissioners Court about any item. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Rushing.
I'd like to think that's the primary there under that mask, but I want to talk about COVID for just a second. Remind everybody about the county policies for COVID leave. We are having a rash of COVID right now. And so I did make a copy, read it at your leisure, of our protocol, the health departments, and the most recent one was February 24th. I believe that's it.
Thank you.
So just reminding everybody of their social distancing and that we do have COVID leave available. But what I'm finding is a lot of people are not wanting to use it. I don't know why. It's hit and miss, and by accident we'll find out that somebody's positive, or they're putting in their time as COVID leave, which is fine. But we're trying to track that 80 hours leave. And it is really hard to track when we don't know about it. It's just some things to consider, but we do have a rash of it going on, and it would be great if supervisors would contact us immediately. It says in the protocol for the employee to contact us, and some of them do, but we've even come down to, we'll do the paperwork. Just call us, and we'll do the paperwork, we'll send it to the supervisor, sign it, send it back with a positive test, and from there on, we'll just contact the employee. But we can't do it if we don't know about it. So, anyhow, a few issues have come up, and just wanted you guys to be aware. Any questions? I know Commissioner Watts has got his hand.
No.
Yeah, I was amazed at how quick, Tanya, it just seemed like.
Commissioner, please.
Okay,
No
sorry.
comment.
Okay, and I'll be quick. And just reminding that the 6 feet for 15 minutes. If you're outside talking to somebody and they're 10 feet away, you don't have to quarantine if they become positive. Now, riding in the trucks together, you might need to quarantine and you need to get tested.
The only, if someone is vaccinated, they are not required to quarantine even if they have been in the truck with that individual. We do highly recommend, because we can no longer tell them to wear a mask, but we do highly recommend that the individual that is vaccinated and exposed wear masks for that 10-day period. But they are not, if someone is vaccinated, they are not required to quarantine.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir, Judge.
In looking at the budget, and I realize this is a public comment, so no action will be taken. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. In review of the budget, I noticed that the 5 court coordinators, the 3 district court coordinators, and the 2 county court and law coordinators were left out of the countywide pay raise. Now, Commissioners Court, Judge Gossam's coordinator received a pay raise, including Judge Gossam, is in the proposed budget, which would ultimately result in double because of the juvenile board as well. In August of 2020, the district court came to this court asking to realign some salaries and realign some duties. We eliminated an entire position out of the court administrator's office, reassigned those duties to the district court coordinators, and then adjusted salary according to the new job duties. In discussion with Judge Gossam, I've been notified that because of that, in August of 2020, that the district court and the county court coordinators have been left out of the pay raise because of something that was a realignment of duties. So, with this proposed budget, we're talking about 5 positions, less than a dozen total positions that are not receiving a raise. So the only thing I want to say is if this is the path that the Commissioners Court wants to go down, as far as not giving court coordinators a raise, or any department a raise for that matter, because of realignment of duties, the signal that you're sending to every single department head, do not try to make cuts. Because when we made a cut of a position, it's now being used against us in a pay raise structure. So the only signal you're telling everybody that has the ability to try to make cuts is don't do it. It's going to be held against your people. So that's the comment I wanted to come and make sure that everybody was aware.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone on the call in want to make a public comment? Okay, it is 10:06, and that will conclude the public comment section. Ask the court to address the consent agenda. I want to remove item number 9 from that agenda.
I had a question on that, so.
Which one do you
I
want?
had a question on mine, so if we're removing it, I'll.
Yeah.
And Judge, I did have some clarification on item 4. Do we not want to adjust those fees at all? Is that a recommendation from, who's that from?
Well, that's a requirement sent to us, we have to adopt those. There had been a thing sent out, I believe Nancy sent out earlier, asking if any of them wanted to adjust any of the fees. We received nothing back. That does not prohibit this court from doing that. It's just, it has to be done prior to September 1st.
Does that include, well, that's just the sheriff's and the constable fees then?
Constable, yeah.
None of Lee's fees go underneath that?
No.
Okay.
They're just on those kind of fees outside of that, of those offices. State does that because their fiscal year starts. It's, on those others, we ought to do it coinciding with our fiscal year. All right, any other comments on that item? Is there a motion then?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Finnegan, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the consent agenda with removal of number 9. Anyone on the phone conference line have any comment on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 1 on the general business is review and approve the regular bills for payment and order the county treasurer to disperse payments.
Motion to pay, Judge.
Thank you.
Second.
Who seconded?
Me.
Oh, Mark, also. Any comments, anyone in the audience on the bills? Anyone on the phone? Okay, have a motion by Commissioner Mahler, a second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the bills and have treasurer disperse the payments. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 2 is discuss, consider, take action to approve the Harris Landscaping and Irrigation proposals dated July 24th, 2021 landscaping materials to LEC at a cost of $12,668 to be paid from the LEC bond forfeiture. Commissioner Beecham.
Bond forfeiture.
Bond fund.
I'm sorry, bond fund, yeah. Hey, my bad. Merit.
Judge, this will complete the left out area around the memorial and et cetera. That whole corner was left out of the original landscape design, so this just completes that area. I had asked Deputy Joyner for 3 estimates, however, I only received 1 in writing, the others were received verbally. So this is a good estimate, so I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comments from anyone in the audience or on the phone? Okay. All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I had a midway thought on that. Something, we need to go back to one item on consent, though.
For the monthly reports.
Okay. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Let's go back in the interest of time to the item. Appointing animal control. Okay, item number 6, motion to approve and reappoint Ms. Angela Bakken of the Animal Services Division of the Wichita Falls, Wichita County Public Health District to act as the local rabies control authority for the city of Wichita Falls. Ms. Kreider, you want?
It's not to appoint for the city of Wichita Falls, it would be to appoint for the unincorporated areas of the county.
For the county of Wichita.
County Incorporated, yeah.
So can you enlighten me a little bit as to what that entails?
So, Angela is here, I'll let her speak to the Rabies Control Authority and those duties. Angela has been with the city of Wichita Falls Animal Services for 9.5 years. She'll be vested in April.
Awesome.
She is currently our animal care and kennel coordinator, and as part of that position, her duties fall to be the Rabies Control Authority for both the city and those unincorporated areas of the county. State law dictates that each governing body that she is performing in that duty as has to appoint her to that area. She's been appointed as the city of Wichita Falls. Bertha Lecter and Iowa Park have their own animal control, so they have their animal control officers who are appointed in that area. When we get a call from the sheriff's department that there's been a bite out in the county, then Angela has jurisdiction. I'll let her explain what that is.
Basically, it's just where we would go out and assist the county sheriff deputies and ensure that any animal bites that take place on a person, that the animal goes into quarantine and they're following the state law requirements as set forth by that. And then I would monitor any of those and make sure that they get the treatment they need if they need it.
And the most important reason that we want to quarantine any bite animal that's happened when they bit a human is that if we don't quarantine that animal, we can't find that animal, then that person who was bit will have to undergo the rabies vaccine, the prophylaxis. So that's a series of shots. They're not pleasant, they're not like they used to be, and it's very expensive. A round of rabies prophylaxis for someone who's been bit is upwards of $10,000.
Oh.
Next question. Are those quarantined at the city facility or
Yes.
where are they? Okay,
Or at a veterinarian of their choice.
okay.
Make sure that they get into quarantine.
If they take it to a private vet, obviously they're charged for it, or they charge for quarantine at the
Yes,
cities.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have at the animal shelter, we have a separate quarantine area. It's maintained, it's inspected by the state annually to ensure that we're meeting those quarantine guidelines.
Okay. All right. Anyone else any questions on this? Well, you've had we've had how many reported rabies cases this year? Or not?
In animals,
In animals and skunks, wasn't it?
We're at 6, I believe, right now, between skunks and cows.
I saw the mangiest looking skunk trotting down my alley.
Daylight good?
Yeah, in the daylight, which
That's a bad
didn't make me
sign.
feel
That's a
good. I
bad
was in my
sign.
car, and I thought at first it was a cat, but then the oddest thing was there were 2 dogs picking on it.
it was probably ill, and so anytime that happens, it's really important that you call us and let us know.
Okay, well, he was headed off, I couldn't, I was trying to think,
Don't get out, don't try to.
well, yeah, I knew that was.
Don't pet the skunk.
Don't feel sorry for it because it's in the road and use a paper bag out of your car to push it out. All of those things are bad.
Yeah, yeah.
What's quarantine procedure for a skunk?
Do you euthanize them and then send them away, or?
Permanent, in other words.
There's such thinkers and you can't do that, so. Okay, so the things that have done was to have called.
Yes.
Because that was about 8:30 in the morning hours, but, okay.
We appreciate the work you do. Unless we get a commissioner foaming at the mouth, we have to put one of us down, then
And just be sure it's not whipped cream, do you? Okay. Lou, thank you all very much, appreciate it. You all are certainly welcome to stay, and you're welcome to leave if you got, I couldn't guess you'd have other things to do.
Not anything else on the
probably not.
And we do thank you all for making the daily reports available to, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Commissioners, I go back, we can either re-vote again on the consent agenda and modify number 6 to say, take out for the city of Wichita Falls, but for the unincorporated areas of Wichita County, or if you'll let that stand, we'll leave it alone.
I'm good to let it stand,
Okay.
county.
No,
Should we not modify it, just?
Oh, and
yeah,
Yes,
go
just-
ahead.
That was
I would make the motion that we modify item number 6 to Wichita County unincorporated areas.
second.
So we don't, is it strictly unincorporated or?
Well, she's for the incorporated areas of the city of Wichita Falls. We are doing it for the unincorporated areas.
Okay.
And each other entity has their own officer, has an agreement, I would guess, with the city. Okay, that's in motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Finnegan.
You have to quarantine a bee after a bite?
I'll have to go find him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor of the modification to item CA number 6, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, now let's go back to receive an update on Law Enforcement Center and the elevator projects. Commissioner Beecham.
I'll start with elevator projects. We had a very fruitful meeting Thursday with the city of Wichita Falls on the elevators here at this building. Got the plans and everything's in the works, in review now. That project's moving forward. The elevator was supposed to be delivered last week. I don't think it arrived, so it's somewhere in transit here, the elevator for the annex building. So I need to follow up and see where it is exactly, but it's on its way, and we can finally get that project completed.
Now, that's the plans they approved
How do
for
we-
the annex or
For the courthouse.
For the courthouse.
For the
How do we
courthouse.
get them in here, Mark, when they come? Are they assembled in the?
That's a good question. I think that since we've got 3 different things going on, there's 3 different approaches. So I believe they're bringing the annex elevator in through the back entrance to the annex. And I need to, I'll have to be there to see it for myself. The other two, I'm not sure yet, because one of them is a remodel, a cart remodel, and the other one's a complete rebuild, so we'll see. Those will probably be dropped in by cranes. Law Enforcement Center, after multiple walks, after replacing the 10 defective control boards in the plumbing, for the plumbing in several of the cells, our staff and Yates staff both walked plumbing and got 100% compliance. Yates has done retest on multiple pods as far as smoky back. We did contact the state last week. They will be here Wednesday to do our final inspection, and hopefully we will pass. All indications seem to be really good that we will this time. I have really no concerns. I believe we are going to test again this afternoon, do another 100% walk on all plumbing fixtures. I know Yates was burning candles again Friday in several of the pods yet again, and the report I got from Scott was everything was good on Friday as well. I think they're going to burn a few more.
Today and tomorrow.
Yeah. So I don't see any concerns whatsoever going into Wednesday.
Now, when you say candles, that's the term for them, but that's
Yeah,
actually the smoke.
that's the
thing.
smoke bombs, yeah.
Just to help out.
Yeah, we're burning candles at both ends on this
Yeah.
project, so. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, with the number of people that we've had walk it and test it from both county staff and Yates staff and others, I feel 100% confident that we will pass this test Wednesday.
Okay. And did that window, that laminated window that had one of the inner panes cracked, is that still, that's not?
There are two windows that are outstanding still, that we're still awaiting glass, but from my understanding, that will not prohibit us from passing. We will get written up for it, but as long as it's secure, it won't prevent us from being able to move in.
You know, it might not hurt to email Alyssa and ask
Okay.
Alyssa that,
Alicia.
just so they don't make a trip here and say, well, why didn't you, we've been trying to get them fixed, we just can't
Yeah,
get them fixed.
the glass, like so many other things, is held up due to manufacturing shortages and other problems right now. So it's, again, like I reported last week, the panes of glass we're talking about aren't something you can go to Binswanger or Quality Glass and purchase. These are thick security panes. The one that's cracked in bookend it's an internal crack. It's still a viable piece of glass. It's just got an internal crack in it. When we're talking 3/4 of an inch or inch thick multi-pane glass, it's just a single pane out of that whole sandwich that's cracked. It's still a viable piece of security glass at this point. The other one is not glass, it's a door pane. It's been replaced with steel for the time being, so it's secure. It's just not, you can't see through it, and so, and I don't think that's it's not a requirement to be able to see through it. It's just, it's on the fire escape landing for one of the female pods. So it's not even a door that anyone will ever egress at all unless we have an emergency.
Okay, that sounds good. Any comments or questions, anyone? Okay. The next item on the agenda is to have a general and departmental discussions on the 2022 budget as needed. one of the questions from the auditor's office was precinct 5 budget, we were trying to move that to where that budget only worked when you all had common equipment, you transfer money in, pay it out of that. But there is an employee position that's been in precinct 5 for a while, it's been unfilled. And the question was, do you all want to continue that position in precinct 5?
I would say at this time, we can let it go. And I mean, we're not funding anything out of it, Judge, and there's not any specific plan to do anything there. And I don't know that we would. I mean, truthfully, so as long as you're fine with carrying the position you carry that was carried there, then
That was our secretarial deal, was it not, Judge?
Yeah, that was part of it. There was that, and there was one road hand for a while, which was designated as precinct 5, and then that's changed. So if you don't need it, then we,
that'll help clean it up, I guess.
okay. Okay.
Now, it'll still carry its capital budget. And we don't have immediate plans, just contingency if something was to come.
If something happened, then there would probably be a transfer of funds from the general fund contingency, and then it'd be paid back in the next year.
Okay.
Glad to see you're nodding affirmative. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Judge McKnight's comments, did you all have any questions about
Well,
that?
can you bring me up to speed on what that entails, Judge?
When we did that change and removed that one position, they then increased their court coordinator salary by about $8,000 a year.
Did they allow that to happen in county court at law too? Did they use that salary monies for those positions?
Yes. I'm pretty sure we went all the way, I'd have to double check that, but
And that was a court administrator, that was in Danielle's department?
yes. And when I sent the preface out, I said anyone that received a pay increase the year before of over $3,500 would not be considered. My court coordinator's increase was $2,000. Now, if she'd been given the 8 or been given something larger, then no. But there were only a few people that were in that category that got those significant raises. And, you know,
How much of that position did those raises consume?
looked like all of it.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that's right. See, I don't
And
think that,
we're still getting not as much
yeah,
overtime in the court administration office as we had, but we also have not been having, you know, the trials and things that would push that.
right. Well, I mean, I disagree with the judge. I don't think it sends that signal at all.
No.
Because when you divide that salary among the people, why does that send the signal to not cut back? I think that's been standard. I don't get that out of that.
Well, I think what he was saying is that if they attempted to be productive with the disbursement of that and to do away with the ongoing salary in that position and not carry it and then allocate other duties, then it's come back to bite them, I think is what the intent was there, and that there was concern that if that occurred, trying to make it more productive, or then there would be reluctancy to do that because of maybe skipping out on something the next year coming down the pipe.
If you're wanting to make cuts though, and you're wanting to conserve money and make a difference, then alleviating the position is one thing, but taking that same money and dispersing it between other people doesn't save you any money. That's just
save any
dispersing the money.
That's
I
not,
think that's unfair to other county employees, because any office in this department, this whole county I can get rid of a road hand and take his money and divide it from other road hands. They'll be happy. yeah, we're gonna do more work, but you can only get so much work done in a day. So it is what it is. It's not a, to me, that's not a giant step to save the county money.
And Judge, I think we really followed that the last several years, that same,
I was trying to think back where you did
I
that with
I
some
know
tax
we,
office
yeah,
people.
I just,
I think doing that, the way it was done, that's been done before I was here, I think that sends the wrong message to most all of our county departments. It makes their pay a little bit unfair for their position compared to other offices. So that's just my opinion on it.
Well, what was but there was an argument as to why those coordinators were, they were out of balance somehow, Judge. What was the?
Well, when you had one of them move from that office to the judge's court coordinator, it was less pay. And that became real important. Because she was working harder because she knew how to help and do with the other, which is what I have talked about for probably 15 years, that there ought to be a meshing of those positions to do the court coordination and take care of the judge's docket. And that's why we moved it then underneath with, we had a problem when Judge Brotherton was there and Mitzi Brotherton was the chief court coordinator, that wasn't a good idea to have that supervision set up that way. Although he didn't hire, I think legally, we'd have been all right, but, so for appearances, I was the supervisor of that for so long. But once that went away, it seemed like to me it was a better idea for them to be underneath the district judges. And thought maybe that might help with some of the workings between the district clerk's office and those officers. Can't say that part went very well, but it's not worse than it was.
Well, it concerns me for the $6,000 we're talking about, that they have quite a larger stick than we do, and that can come back to bite us for $6,000, and that's the part that concerns me, just to have non-cohesiveness exist in what, I wasn't familiar of any other non-raises. But were there others that,
Veteran Service Office.
what was it?
Veteran Service Office. I'm looking through right now.
I thought there were some in the DA's office too.
Well, I think he had recommended there was one, but that was a kind of a position change where they were still a nice increase, even though it was a reduction in position.
Right.
Is a district courts investigator that only had a 400. Victim assistance coordinator, just a $2 increase, so just tidy up the amount. There,
had the position been cut and the money not distributed among the other workers, then I would agree with the judge that sends the message that you don't want to do that. But under the circumstances, I don't get it that way. I mean, I respectfully disagree. Yeah, I respectfully disagree. That's just not the way I read that, but.
there's some in the district clerk's office that's not receiving the full 1,200. It's rearranged though.
But that's supervisor, I mean, isn't that the?
Yeah.
Dictated.
You know, we used to have all these equal, and Tommy Smythe put the idea is, why don't you all give us the money and let us divide it up? And we've done that twice now, that we did that, but we set a minimum, because what happens, if somebody's left down here, you move everybody away from them, you have a new department head, they come back and say, well, I need to get this position up. And, you know, that's the reason I wanted to leave that $1,000 minimum there, but you could rearrange the others however you wanted to. So,
Yeah.
oh, and just one other thing, yes, in the plan, the last time we got raises, I did receive two $1,200 increases, one from juvenile board, one from the general budget. And the auditor received a letter from me those times declining that salary increase of the second one. I took one like everybody else, turned back the other. But why be bothered with those facts? All right. Chief Rutledge did some work this weekend. I sent you all the information that he's proposing to try to keep a better, I like the way you termed it, Chief, called it better environment. I think you said the ecosystem. Yeah, which was a good play on economics. And why don't you go through that?
I lost my battery, so I lost my copy. But anyway, I can plug in if I need to.
What just happened to my dang deal?
So with the, we had originally proposed the $1,200 in the county, and then we talked about the money we was gonna spend on the marshal service and how we were gonna divide that up. Well, then at the end, the, what's it called, ARPA money became available, and we're gonna be $5,200 additional on 561 side. By doing that, it threw 561 out of balance with 560 and made that pay scale do like this. So
Jailers to patrol?
jailers to patrol, yeah. So there's two options here. There's an option A and an option B. On option A, on both of options, what I did with that ARPA money, I subtracted it from, what you were seeing that fourth column, subtracted from those lines, and that money is then added together and dispersed among the jailers 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the reason I did those lines is because those officers or those positions are eligible for the sheriff officer step pay.
Will, what is ARPA?
That's the ARPA money, that's our stimulus.
ARPA, okay. So I thought that's what we were talking about, but I thought it might be something different.
You had another term for it in your dialogue too, that I thought was good, American Recovery Act.
Oh, I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, that's all right.
American Recovery.
Yeah, payroll, something.
Before we, Will,
Yes, sir.
how long is that money gonna last?
So we have really up to 4 years to use it all. But the thing of it is once you build it in, you're gonna have to sustain it.
Well, you say you're gonna have to sustain it, and I'd agree.
It is-
It'd be hard to ever take money away.
It is a premium pay. It is designed to give an additional amount of money to those in certain areas because they are on the front lines dealing with COVID people. That's the point. It's a premium pay. It's an additional item. It has to be listed as a separate line item on the payroll. It can't be put into, it won't be part of their salary. It'll be listed separately as a premium pay to their addition to what they're making. So, I think at the $5,200 at a traditional 2,080 hour year, it's like $2.50 an hour that they get additional at $5,200. So
Okay, that's
plus
fine.
payroll taxes.
So,
The other, let me be sure you hear this. Now, what I have said it is, when that money runs out, Sheriff, I'd like to see you here also on this. We're looking at increased revenue off the marshal service. Okay. That's where, to me, that future money comes from. And we ought to be banking it with that intent, that that's gonna be there. Because without that, that would be better than a 1 penny increase on tax rate. So that, we need to
yeah.
be sure that stays in there before we, because, it's easy enough when you win the lottery to overspend your money about 5 times for what you're gonna get.
So going back to that, so the ARPA money still stays all in 561 budget in both options, A or B. It just distributes that money differently. And on option A, then it takes the $1,200 the court was going to give for raises and $1,000 that was going to come out of that U.S. Marshal money for those raises. And it takes that money and divides it up and puts it back on the 560 side. so it balances out both ways. Now, option B does the same thing. The only big difference on option B is it doesn't take that $1,200 that the county was going to give for raises, takes that out of the equation and just moves that $1,000 or $123,000 from the Marshall money back to 560 and 562, or if the sworn person's on all three budgets and it divides it out, and that $1,200 goes back to the county for $147,000.
So you're using, on one plan, you're using the ARPA money solely to give the raises to the jailers?
Yeah, well, both plans, the ARPA money's all stays in the jail side. It does, none of it goes to the patrol side.
But you're using regular money to give raises to patrol. And the reason I bring this up, let's say that the ARPA money runs out in 4 years.
Okay.
So, and we don't have any other choice but to say, hey, we're gonna have to cut the pay. There's not enough money to fund that. Let's just hypothetically. So that means that we would have to cut the raises for the jail and not the patrol? Because theirs was funded a different way?
Yes. And that's the reason on that one, is with the 1,200 and 1,000, and the other ones with just 1,000, that was Marshall money.
Okay.
You're counting on the Marshall money to be there in order
Yes.
to fund the raises
We've had
beyond
contract
this,
with
with
Marshall since the
the
80s.
term of the ARPA. So,
I don't see our contract
we-
going away. I see our contract increasing and the funds that we receive for daily balance increasing. We've had contract with the Marshal Services since the 80s. I just don't see it.
Callahan signed the first one I could find.
do we bank those Marshall funds in a separate account and hold on to them differently?
General fund.
Yes.
Well, they might be a designated,
I don't think it's a restricted fund, so.
no, we could set it up as that.
I bet it's sponsored the cracker bar for a year or something.
Well, I mean, if that's the intent, is there a means to bank a portion of the U.S. Marshal funds as a set aside
To fund the future.
to fund the future?
Yeah, that was my question.
Kind of like permanent improvement
Yeah,
fund.
Yeah.
can you do that?
Well, either way, I'm hypothetical. I mean, we had a lot of changes in the last couple of years. I mean, COVID, the federal government's doing things that didn't make sense at all. I've received some contact from some people saying that, showing me some situations where they have federal funds have been cut out for U.S. Marshal prisoners. They've cut out funds for it. So I really hate to count the chickens before they hatch. It's fine and dandy to spend money. And I really think our jailers need good raises because we got to get some jailers in there. But for the taxpayers, if you're going to raise those salaries and we lose ARPA, the marshals, let's say they send out something that said we're not going to have any outside federal holding. We're going to do it all ourselves. We can't afford it anymore. Whatever their reason is, what do we do at that point? What's our fallback plan? Do we cut staff?
That penny on the tax roll.
Huh?
Go back to Carrick with the penny.
Raise the taxes?
Raise the tax.
Raise
Well,
tax.
It's inevitable when you go around. Taxes are gonna have to creep one way or the other. And if you're not paying your employees, we don't keep jealous people in this jailhouse.
Right.
Jailhouse is closed by the state. You're gonna hurt, county's gonna hurt a lot more millions of dollars gonna cost to house these people somewhere else. And I can promise you right now, we have looked from the middle of Texas all the way to the panhandle to Kansas. We cannot find anywhere to send 50 to 100 inmates to relieve our jail right now.
Right.
We cannot find anybody. Nobody has jail staff. Everybody's got plenty of room, but there's nobody to watch them. Some jails, the smaller jails, are closing them down and sending them somewhere else.
And that was apparent at the jail commission meeting I attended.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's looking for space and a lot of people are closing down house, so.
And I'm pretty much gonna throw this out there, over the next year and a half, a lot of things will start changing with our carnival federal government we have right now. And these marshal places are gonna start filling back up like they were before. And we just got a whole new future coming up, it's gonna be busy for law enforcement across the nation.
Well, what I had looked at this when I opened up this maybe can of worms, or bouquet of flowers, I'm not sure, was that we would then take, we've got a ceiling right now, let's say, of the almost $1 million we've had, that's where we split that. That money would continue to support those items that you tagged that to do. Whatever the new revenue, and, you know, the other half pays towards operation. Excess above that would be set aside into a fund to do that. Then, if we can do this out to the full 4 years, which we don't have that much time left in it, but I look for some extensions to be made in that planning, because people aren't gonna be able to spend the money. There's not enough contractors, there's not enough materials to spend it up that fast. So we would have that money set aside. Now, eventually, you know, if we don't keep the marshal prisoners, but I think with the facility we've got, with the relationship we've got a pretty good chance of that staying.
Yes, sir.
As far as my crystal ball will go out, which I'm looking at, you know, we've got 3 to 4 years to save and prepare for this, which hopefully would then get us on down the road several more years, things change. So we're forecasting out roughly 6 to 8 years.
Judge, the one thing we know for a fact, though, is the ARPA money is going away.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
Well,
speculation.
it's-
That, we can count on that, so we know that part of it.
Well, that's why I'd like, if we've got that U.S. Marshal money that we're counting on to pay these raises in the future, I'd like to see us be able to bank some of that in order to extend that out several more years while we have it coming in.
I think you've got to.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying,
yeah.
this would do, if we will
Yeah.
set that goes above the money we made from the marshals, whatever increase there is in, this year and next year above that, I'm gonna say 900,000 that we looked at, and, you know, gave you all the latitude to do that 450 with, then we take everything above that level and we bank it as our insurance towards the other.
And that's what the Plan B does. It takes that marshal money and just, it shifts it back to more on the patrol side, and then leaves the ARPA money on the jail side.
And I assume
It returns the $1,200 that the court was going to.
and as that account from the marshal money grows, I assume we can invest that,
Yeah.
which might help at some
Yeah.
point.
Point out one thing with our budget, in case y'all didn't see that. The way our budget is that we fund our budget, instead of all by taxes, we use reserves. This current budget is using $21 million from reserves. So we are using our savings to
Yeah.
fund the budget. So there's only so long we can keep doing that. We should keep 6 months. So that's great. A part of the U.S. Marshals money that goes in as revenue, what's not used, goes into the savings, which goes into that reserves of that 21 million. So that is what we are doing with all of our
Yeah.
excess revenue. So we can definitely set it in its own account for it, keep track of it, that's fine, but that is what we are essentially doing with it.
Yeah.
We're just doing it as part of the reserves, 21 million that's coming over.
Yeah. And let me be sure when someone says, okay, if you're putting 21 million in there to balance the budget, that's been done historically. And last year, we didn't reduce that money, we actually came up. So if we continue the way that our departments operate and try to keep from having money spent that shouldn't be, then we will stay and we will, because someday there will be another bond issue that we will need to do. And so you want to have anywhere from 3 to 6 months.
Ideally, 6 months is really, that's what you tell your household, you should always have 6 months of savings. That's where we try to keep we're about 5 to 6 months of that savings. But if we continue to draw, if everybody were to actually spend all of their budgets, we would not have 6 months of reserves.
Yeah. But I remember a candidate years ago saying we needed a tax, but we don't know sheriff can't say, okay, we're only gonna house so many people this year, and the rest of them can stand outside.
No.
Can't do that, you can't
Yeah, we have
cap
to
indigent
forecast
expense.
for that.
Indigent health care is not capped. And the amount of return we're getting on indigent defense has not been great, because they're not making good money on their investments like we did before. So those kind of things are coming back, and then the things that the legislature wants to add on are unfunded mandates. There's some things in this current Senate Bill 7, and that could be pretty costly to the county. So they easily forget when they limit us that they don't limit what they want us to be responsible for. This voting equipment thing coming up, we still don't have a good deal on that. And it's not that the other equipment's broken or anything, or it's been proved wrong with it or anything else, but they've already passed the one saying it's gotta be replaced.
Yeah, we know it's gonna have to be replaced, we just don't know how we're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, on the ARPA, is that 5,200 to ARPA and then 1,200 from the court on the jailers?
On some of the jailers, but most of the 1,200 is not. Which plan are you looking at, A or B?
I was looking at A, but
On the jailer side, the ones, there was just a few that would still receive the 1,200 because they weren't gonna receive the full ARPA money. Does that make sense?
what is, well, to basic that down there a little bit, for a starting jailer coming in the door, what's his pay? Still gonna be the
Still be
32?
On the new one, it would be the 39,447 on either plan,
39?
447.
So we're gonna take because right now, walking in the door, it's 29.
No.
Well, it's what you pay. Well, I mean-
They don't start at 34, they start at 20, well, actually, they start at 31 now.
Well-
They start at 15.50 an hour. And they had that bill as they went.
A month
for 2
ago,
years.
it was like
Yeah,
29,
it
I
was
thought.
29 a month ago, yeah, before we started.
So we're trying to get them up. So right now, in proposed 2022, it's gonna be 39,000,
Yes.
For a
with
jailer?
the ARPA money, yes.
okay? And if I remember correctly, the deputy's starting was 42 something,
40, well, with the $1,200 raise, it would have been 43.9.
and with it set up the way it's gonna be now, it'll be what?
It started, deputy would start at, with Plan A would start out 46,470, and Plan B would start out at, I'm sorry, Plan A would be 48,70, and Plan B would be 46,470.
Okay. And even on all those raises, increases go up by category. So there's steps, your step increases and all that.
Yes, those, well, the only one change was step increase was the jail side.
Okay,
So the jail side, 2, 3, 4, and 5 went up by dividing that ARPA money around a little bit differently.
Brian.
It was allowed, it went up.
So that's putting your,
You put your 12-year jailer at, on plan B, the 12-year jailer would be 43,894, and the 12-year jailer on plan A would be 45,894.
okay.
12-year jailers are like 100-year-old dogs. We don't have maybe 4.
Yeah, you don't have hardly any,
We have 12.
nothing like what it used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, right now, we have
Yeah,
we have 12 positions for the jailer 5.
just positions where doesn't mean we're filled, but we
Yeah,
have.
they're not full.
but that same ARPA money will go up the chain, all the way up the chain on the jail and all the way up,
Chain on patrol. No, it doesn't go from 12, it doesn't go all the way up to full 5,200 on, because on like Plan B, as you went up, like lieutenants and stuff, and sergeants who were sworn, they only got 2,500 of the 5,200. $2,700 was taken and divided up among the jailers.
okay.
So that way your step pay increased.
And I'm just looking at our proposed budget. I'm just trying to, so it's not adding 5,200 across the line to
Well,
every
I
pay.
did, the budget only increase was the $5,200 on both A and B. Is what the $5,200 per person to the ARPA. Now on Plan B, it gives back the $1,200 in most cases that the court was going to allow for raises.
And the reason I ask, I'm just trying to put it in my mind, but your original proposed budget was around $4,800 an employee. If we're gonna take the ARPA money, if we're gonna take the ARPA money, well, that was gonna put it over a 1.5 cents tax raise for the county. But this ARPA money is gonna be a little bit more than that we're still gonna have to fund at the end of the ARPA period. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
You know, right now, we house on average 50 inmates a day.
Right.
$56. Our contract is up to house up to 100 inmates a day, with the understanding that we wouldn't house 100 until we got to the new facility.
Right.
And then after we've been in the new facility, we can go back and ask for an increase on daily rate.
Well, it should be a lot easier to hire jailers at 45 to 49,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
39.
or 39, 40,000.
39, yeah.
Well, you'll find out if pay was the problem.
Yep.
Well, then the facilities too, you know, we're still in the Titanic facilities right now, it's just, y'all know what it is.
Yeah, it's night and day.
It's not,
Yeah.
even the new people that they go through, look at the new jail now, the first tour, you look at it, they go back over the annex, they're just like, oh my gosh. Can't make it up.
You have a note in here about the ID clerk/dispatch, what budget is that person in?
They're in 560, and using the funds that, not the ARPA money, but the funds that we shifted back to the 560, from 561. On one plan, it gives them ID clerks an $850 on top of their $1,200, and on the other plan, it gives all but two of them $1,000, and two of them gives them $1,448 to bring them up to all, they were all paid on the same level.
Okay.
Why we have two that were below, I don't know how they got there. So it does give the ID clerks a raise and brings them up. Plan B brings them up to $32,861, and Plan A brings them up to $33,011.
So if you do that in Plan A, which keeps the 1,200 in for everybody, then that 850 comes from where?
That comes from the shift of the money back. I took the 1,200 and 1,000, I went back to, on Plan A, went back to 560. I
Okay.
subtracted that from that money first and divided the rest of it up among us.
So that stays neutral then?
Everything stays neutral.
Okay.
The only thing you're adding here is the $5,200.
Well,
Nothing changes on the total amounts.
Okay.
Between departments, instead of it going in 561, he's taking that $1,200 and shoved it over to 560
okay.
and
To
redistributed.
help balance out the,
Also, keep in mind the admin staff, the administrative staff, none of them, besides $1,200, I believe, $1,200.
Yeah, they get,
There's nothing else is going.
right. But now, the ID clerk, are those people jail certified or not?
no, they're our dispatchers, they're the ones who are
That's what I
there.
thought, okay.
Weekends, nights, they, around the clock, and they're working well below everybody else's pay. But we depend on them to be there 24 hours a day.
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Judge, if I may,
Yes, sir.
the 2020 was the first year we had the $56 for the U.S. Marshals. We had about $900,000 come in. We're looking at 1.1 million this year. And then you net that out with whatever we have in jail expenses for holding those inmates, of course. That's what it's looking like it's going to come out to.
Okay. Well, and that's where we hope to see that continue. And I think that's more than a hope. Somebody says, well, gee, I'm glad you run our government by hope. Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of other
Still gonna
terms.
break the law,
Yeah,
still gonna house inmates.
yeah. And that's gonna happen. And, the idea of using that ARPA money because their positions did qualify was to do something that I thought we could sustain later.
Yeah. And like I said, on both A or B, the only difference is on B, the court gets the $1,200 back, in a lot of the cases, $147,000 back.
Yeah.
Are there any of those federal prisoners, is that immigration, or what is that?
No, these are federal charges.
Okay.
Free trial.
Yeah. Free trial charges, yeah.
Because who knows where that end of it's headed? I mean, the immigration.
That's
Yeah, that's a
Well,
whole,
about a year and a half, we're building, after we moved everybody to the new jail, we've been building, take care of that annex jail, and lease it out to the feds.
That'd be nice.
It'd be nice, but then we had to find.
Then you gotta
for the
find employees.
Well, our agreement had to be you couldn't, you know,
No compete clause.
Close, that'd be okay too, so.
it's really an agreement with the federal government, trying to get in line to sue them is pretty tough.
you know, I had someone ask me the question the other day, and goes along with what the auditor was saying a few minutes ago, and this is something we don't ever think much about. They said, you know, the county, just like the cities and other entities, government entities, is, you know, one of the things we've heard of cities going bankrupt, and we've heard of states going bankrupt, and we're about to see that. They said, what happens if you just get to the point where your appraisals drop, get in a tight economy, and as you said, $21 million out of reserves, you can only do that so long. I said, what happens? And I said, well, my impression would be you'd start with layoffs.
Cut services.
You cut services, and I mean, I don't, and it's just something we sure don't wish for it, but it's something we don't ever talk about, but it's a reality if you ever got in a really bad scenario. And we just don't think of governmental agencies doing that. I mean, like, well, you guys are gonna be there, it's pretty much a guaranteed thing. I don't know that it is a guaranteed thing.
No, it's not. And that's one reason to try to have some reserves so that we can take care of
Right.
business. That penny for the permanent improvement fund, I can't overstate how important that is, so that we do build money to take care of renovations, upgrades, and emergency repairs.
Saved our bacon many a time.
Yeah. And that fund is only up now because we took some of the money we did manage to save and transferred into that, because we could readily see the needs for that. So it's,
But Will, Sheriff, don't take my questions as being anti-police at all. Y'all know I'm frugal, and even at our raises that were proposed to get, the Sheriff's Department in a whole is still quite underpaid for a department of its size in this city, and I realize that. So I'm a very strong supporter of the law enforcement, so don't think that. But I do try to think ahead for our taxpayers. I mean, it's a lot of taxes.
How are we gonna sustain it for the long haul beyond?
And that was kind of the reason I gave you two options here. I mean, one's a little bit cheaper than the other.
Yeah, I've been here quite a while, and I've yet to receive that call where somebody, a taxpayer says, well, you know, we don't have any crime, we don't need those deputies patrolling our property anymore. Don't pave my road because we're good, we don't need.
All the new houses in the county.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting on that call, I hadn't had that one yet, you know,
Well, the census sure couldn't find them.
you're right,
Oh, no.
that's a whole nother discussion.
You didn't take time to fill it out since then.
yeah, that's,
We've just been leery of the government at this point, you know, just throwing it out there.
well, the good thing is we saved over 100,000, because that's one of the major delineators in people, you know, looking where to invest, put new business. And if we get back to things going to school, and we would get more people interested in the Career Education Center and the Vernon Skills Center, then there are a lot of jobs to be had by going to that kind of advanced education, post-public ed, would be certainly some great careers for people.
Sheriff, the population hadn't decreased out in your neighborhood.
Nobody here downtown or the one up north.
Yeah.
It's not slowing down. I mean, even still keeping the little Class C, you know, the little misdemeanors out. So, just to see what's happened in the last year, the rise of more violent crimes, more just felony cases that go on.
And, you know, we still don't take Class Cs unless they're tied to another charge, and then the court is PRM, or they're just time serving them. So they're not sitting in jail for a Class C, but our jail is full. You know, last year got COVID, we started at 450 at the end of COVID, or several months into COVID, we got to 350. This morning we were back to 474. And once you're in jail, pretty much the ones who cannot make bond, they don't qualify for
that's one of the things on the governor's call is to look at where a judge can take the circumstances and not give bail. That there should be justifiable circumstances of the person, or it's not the reduced bail. But there's some additional information that's going to have to be supplied. If they're talking about that, no one has figured out who's going to pay for that, how they're going to get it and do that. But they are talking about having, often when the arresting officer gives a suggested bail amount, and the judge will now have some of the information to look at past criminal history and all that, if that bill passes, and that's supposed to be being done. And that's going to enlighten some of that process. But somebody's got to pay for that information and the administration of it.
Any other questions?
No, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sheriff, thanks. Heard good comments on Sheriff Callahan's funeral and all how well you all conducted that. Do appreciate that. He was a good friend of county government and Wichita County residents. So are you going to top him at total service, you think? Or no? Okay.
I'm just happy to be here today.
Okay, we're glad to have you. Okay, any field commissioners, or y'all want to look at that some more? I realize you just got this, so, but we do need to, and either in the Friday discussion or soon, we need to give, kind of a nod, so we'll be able to plan that into, all of these changes that we're gonna submit for the, final vote on the 14th.
Judge, I don't have much problem with the numbers. It's merely a consideration of funding it. I mean, we're not out of line on the proposed numbers by any means. Like, as Mickey said, I agree 100%. And we just got to,
The sustainability of it.
Yeah, sustainability. We got to reassure ourselves that we've got a sustainable deal. That's my only. I'm not questioning the need or the numbers or anything.
Ourselves and the taxpayers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
And
mean,
we are taxpayers. I
are
am, and I got a big old stack of them to
Well,
say.
that's it.
Tommy sent me a little greeting card here a while back.
Yes, sir. Me too.
Mr. Wall, anything else on the budget? Gentlemen, y'all have anything else to bring up on it? Or anyone else in the audience?
Rick?
Honor Hills next weekend.
This week.
This weekend.
Weekend. Well, it is, depending how you call it, but yeah.
Kind of next weekend.
Few days away.
And looks like from the weatherman, it will be.
Low 90s, I think. Not too bad.
Not too
Weather's
bad.
looking good. Registration's looking good. If it continues where it's at, it will be, if not the second largest, certainly one of the largest events we've ever had.
Well, if you're gonna do it, you might as well have a bunch of them, I
Well, it's
guess.
the 40th anniversary. It's gonna be big.
Yeah. It's been a long time since standing on Southwest Parkway, watching it.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
I still have a tandem bike that rode in that first one. It wasn't mine then, but that was the legend when my wife bought it. It was a flower pot decoration. It's been there a long time. So, all right. If there is nothing else to be brought, anyone on the conference call have anything to bring up? Okay. It is 11:09 and we are adjourned.
I was riding a tandem bike with my wife. I could see a large argument ensuing before we